Aloha, this is Reverend Tim Lytle from Unity Church of Hawaii here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. We have wonderful services and videos and messages. We're so grateful to stand with you in faith so that you manifest the highest and best in your life, because we know where you are, God is. All of God is fully present there. So enjoy our services, enjoy the message, and thank you for joining us. That was beautiful. I could just visualize all of that and feel it. The power of this month is wisdom, and wisdom is the power that we use to discern what is ours to do. And certainly as we look at wisdom, it is ours to do to guard and protect and celebrate this wonderful world in which we live. To celebrate the harmony, the intricacy, the joy, and the beauty of this beautiful place. The title for today is God is Green. And that is, God is showing up as all this life that we have all around us. Every aspect of life is the expression of God. So, I want to look at a passage of Scripture. This comes from Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, from the International Standard Version. The Lord God took the man and placed him in the Garden of Eden in order to have him work it and guard it. Now, you may not know this. It may be a shock to you, but there's actually two creation stories in the opening chapters of Genesis. The first one is in chapter 1. And in chapter 1, it says that God gave dominion or mastery to the man and the woman for all of this creation, that they were to subdue it. And some of my wonderful evangelical brothers and sisters that I'm in close contact with have sometimes told me that what that means is that we can treat the earth however we want to, because God gave us permission to subdue it, to have dominion over it. So it's okay if we pollute things, that it's some sort of new agey thought to take care of the earth. And I'm thinking that's crazy talk, because we're talking about our home where we live. The idea of dominion and mastery is that we oversee something using wisdom, using love, using our best resources to take care of it. Once upon a time, ages ago, I used to eat meat. I used to eat fish. I was a fisherman. And in Wichita, there's a big river. And so I would, catch fish, big catfish. But we would get these warnings, frequent warnings, about eating very, very, very few fish from that river because of all the pollution that is in the river. Well, it all gets passed on. If there's pollution in the water, in the air, in our food, it's going to get passed on to us. Why would we want to poison ourselves? This is the place where we live. So I like this second creation story because it talks about us being here to work the land and guarding it, protecting it. It's something to value. It's something to treasure. All of creation is something to treasure. When I was in college, I was studying Albert Schweitzer, and I was also studying Mahatma Gandhi. And both of them talk about a doctrine of ahimsa. It's a Sanskrit word, ahimsa. It means nonviolence, respect for life, respecting all living things. And it deeply influenced me because we are all interconnected. We are all in this together. So what we do to nature affects all of us. So I say to my wonderful evangelical friends and brothers, many of whom are also very concerned about the environment, that, hey, we are told to guard it, to protect it, to watch over it. This is part of our responsibility. It's part of our wisdom, knowing what is ours to do. And making choices and looking at how we live and how does that affect life. Now, how many people here do not like to have your toes stepped on? Would you raise your hand? Well, you're honest. Most of the congregation does not like to have your toes stepped on. I don't either. But here's a little toe-stepping point in the message. So, years ago, when I first started in Unity, I started by reading Charles Fillmore and other early writers in the Unity movement. That's where I started. So, voracious reader, I would just absorb and read these things. And over and over and over and over in his books. Now, okay, here's a disclaimer. In Unity, we believe in looking within, seeking the Christ within, doing what is, what we see as being the best thing to do. But over and over and over in Fillmore's books, he would talk about the importance of being vegetarian because he was very much in respecting all life. And in the early days of Unity Village, it was all vegetarian, all of it. And in fact, okay, this is from Charles Fillmore. Okay. Just saying. He said, you cannot regenerate the body or the spirit by eating dead flesh. Just saying. Now you turn to the Christ within and see what is right for you. But what comes across to me real strongly is their reverence for life, including us. Reverence for each and every one of us. Because when we look at each other, we are looking at the presence of God. When we look at each other, we are looking at the presence of God. So, here's something where I'm going to step on my own toes, and if you wish to join me in the toe stepping, feel free. The way we treat others is how we are treating God. Take a deep breath. The way we treat others is how we are treating God. Because each and every one of us is the presence of God. So the way we treat others is a reflection of how we see God. That's why Jesus said, when you've done it unto one of the least of these, you've done it unto me. Some people think that it's true because Jesus said it. I rather lean to the side that Jesus said it because it's true. It's a spiritual principle that was universal before Jesus said it. That what we do to others, we're doing to ourselves. Jesus was quoting from Leviticus chapter 19 when he said, love your neighbor as yourself. And as my rabbi, mentor, Kabbalah teacher for 5.5 years taught me, he said, you love your neighbor as yourself because your neighbor is yourself. So what we do to others, we're doing to ourselves. Recently, it was a shock to me. I was told that I had been here a year. I thought that's impossible. 3 or 4 months maybe, but a year just seemed ridiculous. And so an annual review occurred. Some of you had all of you had the opportunity, but some of you availed yourself of the opportunity to fill out surveys regarding the senior minister. And I was amazed. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful, wonderful feedback and the very, very high affirmation. As the board and I met together about the results of my self-evaluation and all of that, one of the primary goals that came forth, and we'll be talking about in the town meeting about goals, okay? But one of the goals that really came forward was self-care. Does anyone else here ever have challenges with self-care? Oh, thank you. You know, when I was at Unity of Wichita, that was the only consistent, I don't know if criticism is the right word, but feedback that I would get would be about the importance of self-care. And when I have my daily visits with my wife, who is currently in Colombia, so every day we video chat, you know, on the phone, we see each other. She's examining me on the phone. She's like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you eating right? Are you eating healthy? I don't believe you are. I don't think you're eating healthy, you know. And so every day she's doing, you know, it's not just once a year. Every day she's doing a survey to make sure I'm doing self-care. All of us need to daily look at how we are caring for ourselves, because all of us are that creation that we're talking about. So it's not only about taking care of the earth, taking care of the world, taking care and loving one another. It's about caring for ourselves. Once in a while, I will look in the mirror and look myself deep in the eye just to check up on how I'm doing. Each one of us needs a support system. Each one of us needs people that believe in us and support us. Each one of us needs to do things that are healthy for us, because you are worthwhile. You are the presence of God. Repeat after me. I am the presence of God in action. Let's do it again. I am the presence of God in action. All right, just breathe into that. We need to do good self-care, you know. Some of us sometimes do so much to care for others, but we may not be caring for ourselves. We're all in this together. This church, on this planet. You know, a person asked me, I've had more than one person who said, how do you feel living on an island? All isolated, surrounded by that huge ocean where all kinds of things could happen. Don't you feel vulnerable? Don't you feel claustrophobic? Don't you feel locked in? And I said, no more than I feel when I think about spinning on a little ball of dirt through space. Then they're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. We all live on this island called Earth. And it's up to us to take care of it. It's a living thing. We're all in this together. And as a church, as a worldwide community, we're all in this together. What happens to the children in Syria affects us. What happens to those who are deprived because of their race or because of their religion affects us. Whatever happens to another affects us because we're all interconnected. This last week, someone shared with me a story. They saw a video of this. You know, in the Midwest, we will sometimes move buildings. Now, I don't know if that does that happen here? Rarely, probably, because, you know, you need a really big, wide open street. You need it to be flat. You don't want to do it on mountains and stuff. And so this church was moving its building. Okay? So you have these jacks all the way around the building, and I've watched the process. Some of you have seen it. And you jack up, lift up this entire building, and you put blocks, support jacks underneath it to lift it up. And then this big truck carries the building. And so a number of times in Wichita, I saw buildings being moved. And obviously, they're going to go slow, right? And so they were moving this church building. And of course, it was moving very slowly down the street. And surrounding the church building were the people of the church, walking with the church to its new home. What a beautiful image of all coming together to support the forward movement of the church. People don't always agree on everything. And as I've mentioned before, the name of our church is unity, not uniformity. We have lots of diversity. We celebrate this colorful, wonderful diversity that is God, expressing in so many various ways as all of us. And as Billy Graham's wife said when she was being interviewed about whether she and Billy ever disagreed on anything, she said, if we agreed on everything, one of us is unnecessary. We need diversity of opinion, but all working together. I love that image of walking with the church to its new place, escorting it to where it's going. And that's what all of us are doing as a church and as a worldwide community. We are here to walk together to the future, to not focus on division, but our common vision and moving forward. We are called here to be stewards of oneness. The oneness that is expressed through nature, the oneness that is expressed through each other, through all kinds of religions, sexual orientations, colors, varieties of all sorts. We are here to celebrate God, showing up as each and every one of us. Aloha.